Michael, good morning. And all this continues to pile up. Congressman George Santos is already accused of fabricating key details like his background and his education. Now he's facing fresh allegations that he used a fake charity to scam a disabled veteran. This morning, a U.S. Navy veteran speaking out, alleging that New York Congressman George Santos stole $3,000, money that Santos promised would help his dying service dog.
I had developed pretty bad PTSD. At least 2 times, I went through nasty bouts, weeks-long bouts, where she definitely was the reason that I'm still here. I had her for 10 years.
Richard Ostov says when his dog Sapphire had a tumor, a veterinarian technician referred him to a pet charity to help raise money for the surgery. The man running the organization, George Santos. But not only was Santos using a different name to run the group, ABC News has reported the charity never even existed.
That 21-year-old tells us his son is still in critical condition here. He was heavily sedated after undergoing surgery to remove some bone fragments from his skull. His father says he was shot 3 times and he may lose his vision from this shooting. Now, police tell us it all happened near 47th and Walcott yesterday. The 21-year-old Jesus Riga was standing outside his home waiting for the bus at the time. He was with his brother and his father. That's when more than 40 gunshots were fired off. The kid was supposed to graduate from high school later this year. And again, the father saw all of that happen. So he did undergo surgery. At this point, no one has been arrested. Police believe they're looking for 3 suspects.
And he just got shot. I put my son on the ground, and I ducked down, and before I know it, he got shot and fell to the ground. And I couldn't do nothing about it. And as soon as he fell down, they started running off.
Now, Chicago police data shows that in 2022, there were 93 shootings and homicides in the New City community area. That does include back of the yards. In 2021, it was about the same, but that all adds up to about a 66% increase from 2019, when there were 56 shootings and homicides.
Was suffering hallucinations from alcohol withdrawal. Body camera video showing the paramedics strapping him face down onto the stretcher. Prosecutors say he suffocated to death at the hospital, the family filing a wrongful death suit. The paramedics insisting they did nothing wrong.
Newport News, Virginia, breaking their silence. Today saying in a statement their son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father attending school with him. But that the shooting happened during the first week when we were not in class with him. We will regret our absence on this day for the rest of our lives. The parents claim the firearm our son accessed was secured, but it remains unclear how the child obtained the weapon or why it wasn't found that day when a staffer got a tip that the boy might have a gun and searched his backpack. The parents' letter comes days after other parents expressed fear for their children.
I send my kids to school and find myself praying to God that they will return home safely.
The investigation into this terrible case continues, but tonight, finally, some good news. The wounded teacher has been released from the hospital. David?
Firing in an area is abnormal, and with this one being a Russian vessel off one of our key naval harbors in the Pacific, that will be of concern to the naval leadership.
Indeed, Joint Base Pearl Harbor is one of the Navy's busiest, with some of the most sophisticated and secret warships in its arsenal. It's where we boarded a boat that took us to a nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarine last year off Hawaii's coast. The submarines do not like to stay above water for long because then they are detectable. Exactly the kind of submarine the Russians could try to learn more about by dropping a tracking device underwater. But there is another possibility: sabotage.
They could be mapping some of our critical infrastructure that comes in and out of Hawaii, fiber optic internet and communication cables, for example.
The Russians have a right to be in international waters, but making the concern public lets the Russians know we're carefully watching. And David, the Coast Guard tells me that the Russian vessel has been moving anywhere from 100 miles off the Hawaiian coast to close enough to shore where you can see it with binoculars.
Binoculars, that's quite something. And at his home. So let's bring in our senior White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, who is traveling with the president in California. Mary, I wanted to play for the audience what the president said here moments ago and then get your reaction.
As we found a handful of documents were filed in the wrong place. We immediately turned them over to the archives of the Justice Department. We're fully cooperating, looking forward to getting this resolved quickly. I think you're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there. Thank you.
He said, I think you're going to find there's nothing there. Mary, the president sounding defiant there, saying there's no there. I have no regrets, among other things. But again, carefully reading from a statement there.
Yeah, he says there's no there, but David, the president is clearly frustrated. This White House is under a tremendous amount of pressure over this drip of revelations and facing growing questions about their transparency. There are still a lot of basic questions here left unanswered. The president for days has not wanted to comment on this, and tonight you can see he insists they are doing this by the book. He says they are fully cooperating and complying with the ongoing special counsel investigation, an approach that you heard the president there say he has no regrets about, even if his silence has become a political liability for him. David?
Our senior White House armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, now each facing involuntary manslaughter charges in the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Prosecutors say the evidence showed, quote, criminal disregard for safety on that set. Authorities say Baldwin, who was also a producer on the film, was rehearsing with the gun when it went off. He told our George Stephanopoulos that he never pulled the trigger. Tonight, what the DA said about that. Baldwin and Gutierrez-Reed both say they're innocent, blaming others. Baldwin's lawyer immediately issuing a statement saying, we will fight these charges and we will win. Lindsay Davis leading us off from Santa Fe tonight.
This is a crime scene.
Tonight, more than a year after a fatal accident during a rehearsal on the set of the movie Rust, actor Alec Baldwin and the film's armorer are now facing 2 counts each of involuntary manslaughter in the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
This set was really unsafe. It was not being run well. It was not, they were not doing the things that they should have been doing in order to have a safety conscious and certainly with guns, a gun conscious movie set.
The gun, yeah. Okay.
According to court documents, both the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, and assistant director Dave Halls handled the gun before Baldwin, who claims that Halls said cold gun on the set, meaning no live rounds were being used.
3 different people, if they had only done their job, we wouldn't be standing here. A person died because of this negligence, because of this recklessness.
I'm the armor. At least I was.
Gutierrez-Reed and Halls have maintained they were not aware of live rounds in the gun. Halls signing a deal, pleading no contest to negligent use of a deadly weapon, getting a suspended sentence and 6 months probation. Today, a lawyer for Gutierrez-Reed said she did not commit involuntary manslaughter. These charges are the result of a very flawed investigation and an inaccurate understanding of the full facts. We believe Hannah will be exonerated of wrongdoing by a jury. The tragic incident sent shockwaves throughout Hollywood back in October of 2021. After the Colt .45 revolver Baldwin was using at rehearsal fired off a live bullet, striking and killing Hutchins and injuring director Joel Souza. In an interview with George Stephanopoulos months after the shooting, Baldwin was adamant he did not pull the trigger.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
But an FBI report from August concluded the gun functioned normally on set and when fully cocked could not be made to fire without a pull of the trigger.
The trigger had to have been pulled. So Alec is wrong.
Authorities say 6 live rounds were found on the film set, though they have not determined just how they got there. The charges today come 2 months after Baldwin filed a lawsuit against several crew members, including Gutierrez-Reed, claiming they gave him the loaded gun and failed to check it carefully. In a statement tonight, his lawyer called the DA's decision a terrible miscarriage of justice, adding Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe there was a live bullet in the gun or anywhere on the movie set. He relied on the professionals with whom he worked, who assured him the gun did not have live rounds. We will fight these charges, and we will win. As part of a wrongful death settlement, Hutchins' husband is now an executive producer for the film. Proceeds expected to go to the couple's son. The family's attorney tonight says they support the charges and fervently hope the justice system works to protect the public and hold accountable those who break the law.